On the morning of July 31st, 2022, Mackenzie Shirilla, a 17-year-old from Ohio, crashed her car into the side of a brick wall going 100 miles per hour, killing her boyfriend Dominic Russo and his friend Davian Flanagan, but somehow she survived. So was she literal hell on wheels, exacting vengeance upon her passengers, or just an innocent girl in heels? Make sure to stick around and find out. Hey folks, welcome to another video on the channel. As always, we'll be solving a puzzle throughout the video. This puzzle right here took me a total of 3 hours and 9 minutes, and I want you to be looking for how many cows there are in the puzzle. I always think it's funny how there's like twice as many cows as humans in Wyoming. Let's just hope cows don't figure out how to use guns anytime soon, or Wyoming might have a serious problem on their hands. Anyway, let's look at the case. So leading up to the crash, some background here to kind of make sense of it all. Dominic Russo, age 20 at the time, and Mackenzie Shirilla, age 17, were in a relationship. It was kind of on again, off again. They got in fights often, they broke up several times, and it was a pretty toxic relationship just in general because Mackenzie was a little bit unhinged. A little bit is an understatement here. There are a couple things to kind of show how she was. 2 weeks before the crash, she actually had threatened to crash the car. One of Dominic's friends overheard her on the phone say as much. Like most of Dominic's friends kind of saw this coming. Not like that they knew she was going to crash a car, but you know, based on her behavior, it's like, yeah, it fits. Mackenzie was also seen like hitting Dominic at least on one occasion. In one specific instance, she was repeatedly degrading Dominic, threatening him. You know, she was like banging on his door saying, "Open this door right now or there's going to be a serious problem."
Let me in, please.
So, you know, kind of the crazy type, right? So that's kind of what their relationship looks like. And so going into the crash on July 31st, 2022, you can kind of see how their relationship was a little murky at times, you could say. So anyway, she was driving with Dominic on the morning of July 31st, and one of Dominic's friends, Davian Flanagan, just happened to hitch a ride as well. And so with all this, they're in the car on the morning of July 31st, Davian, Dominic, Mackenzie, when Mackenzie drives 100 miles an hour into the side of a brick wall, killing Dominic, Davian, but somehow she got out alive. And so then the question becomes, well, did Mackenzie purposefully do this, or was it reckless driving? It was an accident? You know, what happened here? So the prosecution makes some really good arguments here. So first one is that the chief deputy medical examiner said that medically the cause of death was homicide. I don't really know exactly what like medically the cause of death means, but probably looking at the autopsy, they found that the evidence would point to a homicide. Another interesting thing, this is not necessarily prosecution based, but Mackenzie was high on marijuana at the time of the crash, and there were also mushrooms found at the scene. Not necessarily proof that she did anything, but you know, an important fact to kind of keep in mind here. Another interesting thing is that one of the surgeons at the hospital that was working on some of Mackenzie's reports said that Mackenzie, quote, wanted to die, and that she also said that it was her fault for killing her boyfriend. Another interesting factoid here is that a certified forensic mechanic, after taking a look at the car's black box, was able to find that the gas pedal was pushed down 100% with no application to the brakes. Meaning, whoever was controlling the gas pedal didn't want to stop. So the defense really didn't have that good of a case. One thing they brought up was that Mackenzie has a disease that causes her to be dizzy. So her mom testified that she had this disease and that it could be a potential reason for the crash. You know, maybe she got dizzy and she kind of lost control or whatever. The defense also claims that there would be no way of knowing what happened before the crash, which doesn't really make sense because they provided evidence that the gas pedal was pushed down 100%, which seems like evidence to me, but who knows? They also claimed that the fighting was mutual between the two, but it was pretty evident that it was pretty one-sided with Mackenzie being the perpetrator. And then they also claimed that Mackenzie lost control while driving recklessly, which let's just take a look at the video and see if you agree with that claim. So as you can see from the video, Mackenzie is driving safely and then out of nowhere accelerates 100% directly into the wall. And so I'm not so sure that the defense's claim of losing control was very accurate here. So now some of the results of the trial. So this trial was actually a bench trial, which means that a judge decides the ruling and there's no jury. So defendants can pretty much choose this option and waive their right to a trial by jury if they think it fits their case better, and then everyone agrees on it, and then they say, okay, yeah, we'll do a bench trial in this case. And so some of the reasons why you might waive your right to a trial by jury is because it's faster to do a bench trial, just because you don't have to select the jury, you go through that whole process. And then sometimes if there's like complex law involved in the case, you might want to just have a judge look at it rather than random people that might not know the law as well. So anyway, that's kind of where this case comes into play. It's a bench trial, so there was no jury. And so the judge who was ruling on this case ended up finding Mackenzie guilty of a lot of different things, assault, vehicular homicide, drug possession, and the main thing here is 4 counts of murder. And because of this, the judge sentenced Mackenzie to 2 concurrent life sentences with eligibility of parole 15 years down the line. So interestingly enough, there could have been a sentence of 2 consecutive life sentences, which would have been 30 years of parole. But the judge decided that serving them concurrently would be more fair, and that the judge didn't believe that Mackenzie would be out in 15 years anyway, so that was her rationale there. So what are my thoughts on the case? Well, it seems pretty obvious given the evidence that Mackenzie did in fact do this on purpose. One thing I didn't mention, but is extremely relevant here, is that the path she took on the morning of the crash was not like a routine path that she would normally take, but was a path that she took a few days prior, indicating that she had planned it out, scoped out the path, and figured out her plan in advance. And so as a result, obviously she should be in prison because she deliberately killed these 2 young men. Leave a comment below what you thought about this case and any suggestions you have for future stories you want me to cover. And as always, if you like this content and want to see more like it, make sure to hit the like and subscribe. I hope to see you next video. Peace.